Next up, we are going to talk about the best new speed boot of 2024. I say new speed boot, so this is exclusively things that have released within that time frame of 2024. So something like, for example, the Mizuno Alpha is not eligible because it's been out for a lot longer than that. And we will start with, as is customary in a top 5, number 5. Number 5 is going to be this. This is the Nike Mercurial Vapor 16 Elite. Now, this is a good football boot. I think the upper is absolutely fantastic. I think they're a couple of steps away from basically perfection here. I think they've done a really great job, and it definitely moves the Mercurial in the correct direction for me. I'd love to see the air zoom unit just be got rid of, to be honest, and a return to the old anatomical sole plate where you sat down into the boot. And as a personal preference, I would like to see this upper silhouette kind of slimmed down and a little bit of a less voluminous fit all the way through the boot, something a little bit more speed boot feeling. But that super aggressive tooling, the nice direct touch, and a little bit of grip from that grip knit all makes for a pretty good football boot. And this is a boot that is going to serve majority of people. The majority of people are going to enjoy this, and I think it's something that I can continue to recommend, even if it's not a boot that goes in my bag particularly regularly anymore. It did for the first period of time after I got it, but there's something about it. I think it is that lack of real mercurial speed and me falling out of love a lot with the Air Zoom unit that has kind of bumped it down the list. But it's a step in the right direction, I think, from Nike. The utilization of grip knit here is much better than I anticipated. And yeah, this is number 5 on my best new speed boots. At number 4, this is a boot that I definitely did fall out of love with and then tried again, and now I'm kind of a little bit back in love with. And I think this is maybe a slightly personal pick for the 4th position, and not everybody's going to agree with this one, but it's the New Balance Furon V7 Plus Pro. I think they've just done a really great job of doing a small update and providing us with a really fantastic knitted aggressive speed boot. It does everything that you expect a speed boot to do. There's a couple of elements that I don't particularly love the more I wear it, such as the shot shield, for example, and I definitely want a deeper lacing system. But I think there's an awful lot to love here, and I think New Balance have developed something that, while on its surface might seem simple, sometimes it's exactly what you need a speed boot to be. Simple, effective, and deliver exactly what you want. So yeah, that's my shout for 4th position, is the New Balance Furon. So we are up into the medal positions. These are the 3 best speed boots of 2024. This is huge. This is an award that everybody wants to win, because most people, this is going to be the key boot for them. This is going to be the main top seller for a lot of brands. So what comes in 3rd position, and this might surprise you, it's the Adidas Messi F50 Elite. Now, this doesn't mean that it's necessarily not as good as the other 2 boots that are going to come after this. It just means that it's not as good at being a speed boot. I feel like this loses some of the elements of what you expect from a speed boot, with things like the traction, which isn't necessarily overly aggressive. This is more of an agility style outsole. It's still got a really nice spring back. It's a very responsive boot, and I could have gone for the regular F50 here as well, which does give you a slightly closer touch on the ball. But honestly, I think the Messi is so much better than that regular F50 Elite that it had to be this one that goes on the list. And when you take everything into account, such as maybe not having that razor sharp touch and not having that super aggressive outsole, I think for best speed boot of the year, I might even be being very generous by putting it up in third place. But all of the rest of the elements of this boot that it does have, that in some elements are detriments to it being a speed boot, such as a really great pointed multi-directional traction and a slightly less barefoot but incredibly soft upper, just means that this has to go on this list somewhere because it's just too good to leave off. But I can't have it win when you could really question whether it's a speed boot or not. So that leaves us with 2 boots left. What might they be? So for my second place of speed boot of the year, and again, no, this couldn't be number 1. It's not as good as number 1, but this is a proper speed boot. If you really want a really God's honest speed boot, this is it. Maybe slightly too much volume, slightly too much width at points, but this is a God's honest speed boot. This one here. So this is the Puma Ultra Ultimate. Now I could have gone for the carbon, that is absolutely nuts, but the majority of people, the Ultra Ultimate is going to be the one that you want to go for with the FG sole plate rather than the carbon. The carbon is just too much in a lot of cases, but this has a really fantastic spring back. It's got a great, unbelievable barefoot touch on the ball, and I just think that this is a really special boot, and I hope Puma do not mess this up in the future. This is an absolutely fantastic football boot. I absolutely love it, and spoilers, this is going to be in contention for boot of the year as well. It's definitely on the long list. Haven't decided what my boot of the year is going to be yet. Haven't actually written the list out, so I would expect to see that on there. If it's not, be surprised. I will be. But this is just such a good speed boot. It's such a huge turnaround for Puma as well. We had somebody, I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was, on the Football Boot Hour podcast. We asked for your recommendations for your own awards and what boot you would give them to. And somebody suggested an award for best glow up and gave it to the Puma Ultra, which I think is just the most perfect award for this particular boot, going from the last generation to this. Puma have nailed this. This is such a good football boot. The touch is barefoot with a touch of grip. There's a little bit of texture. It's never bad in wet weather. You've got unrivaled traction, grip, and aggression. You've got responsiveness. You've got stability. Like I say, the only issue you might find for some people is that there is maybe a little bit too much volume through the boot, and you would like something a little bit slimmer and more form-fitting, but this is unbelievable and fully deserves to be on this list, and it is very, very unfortunate for it that it is not number 1. This is a phenomenal football boot and an incredible speed boot. If you have followed the channel for any length of time this year, you probably knew this was coming. You probably know what is coming. If you've watched the podcast, you definitely knew this was coming. It's the Sakito Scudetta. This is without question the best speed boot of the year. It does everything that a speed boot is supposed to do and more. This is got beautiful lockdown. The extra little lace hole here to add the runner's loop, it's such a simple detail, makes a big difference. This upper, this BioTouch vamp is insane. I cannot describe how soft and unbelievable this is. And somehow, so my favorite colorway that I own is the Launch colorway, but somehow the BioTouch upper vamp on the black colorway, on this blackout obsidian colorway, is softer than on the Launch colorway. And on the Launch, I complained a little bit that the boot kind of has this weak point where it bends off in the middle, and it doesn't do it as much on the on this new black colorway. I don't know what they've done, but it is snappy, it's responsive, it's locked in, it's got stability, it's got great lateral stability in actual fact, it's comfortable. The heel on this is absolutely next level. The touch on the ball is barefoot and just unbelievable. It molds and shapes to your foot, so you genuinely feel like you have a proper one-to-one fit and feel going on. this is next level good. Like, next level good. The only complaint that anybody could make is potentially around the sizing, a little bit of confusion there, but honestly, I think you can definitely get over that. I certainly have, and these are just some of the absolute best boots I've tried in recent times when we're talking about speed boots. These are next level speed boots, and these are putting big brands to shame with how well they have made this football boot and how well it delivers on the pitch. Huge, huge award, but this is definitely my speed boot of the year.